In this video, we will be discussing third-degree price discrimination and how they profit maximize. Here we have a problem where a movie theater company called Movies LLC is looking to build a few new theaters in a number of new locations. They wish to continue their current plan of using third-degree price discrimination as a pricing model. The problem being is that they don't know if the new locations have price discrimination legal there or not. So in order to prepare for both scenarios, they want to find the maximum profit for both third-degree price discrimination and uniform pricing. And we're asked to find the maximum profit for both price discrimination and uniform pricing, and they give us two different price functions where P1 equals 60 minus 3Q1, P2 equals 25 minus 0.25 Q2, and we have a marginal cost of 11. Third-degree price discrimination occurs when you have two different groups of demand. So you have the normal group, which could be considered our P1, and then you have the more price-sensitive group, or our P2. So since we have two different groups, we can profit maximize them separately. So we could profit maximize P1 by itself, treating it like a regular monopoly, and we could profit maximize P2 by itself, treating it like a regular monopoly. They just share a marginal cost. And since we're treating both groups of demand separately and profit maximizing them as monopolies, we would profit maximize using the rule marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So we would find marginal revenue for both price functions and set them equal to our marginal cost of 11. So starting with our first price function, we have P1 equals 60 minus 3Q1. And so we want to get to our marginal revenue from this price function. So what we would do is we would first go to our total revenue of the 1, and that is price times quantity. And so we would have quantity 1 times our price function of 60 minus 3Q1. And by distributing that Q1, we get a total revenue of 1, 60 Q1 minus 3Q1 squared. And since we have total revenue, we want to get our marginal revenue from that. And our marginal revenue is the derivative of the total revenue function with respect to Q. And that derivative is 60 minus 6Q1. Now, if we follow the profit maximization rule of marginal revenue equals marginal cost, we would set 60 minus 6Q1 equal to 11. And what we would do is we would add 6Q1 to both sides and subtract 11 from both sides. And we get 49 equals 6Q1. Now if we divide both sides by 6, we find our Q1 to be 8.167. So for our regular group, we would sell 8.167 movie tickets at a price we don't know yet. Now in order to find our price, we would look back at our original price function and plug Q1 into it now. So we have P1 equals 60 minus 3 times 8.167. And if we plug that into a calculator, we get a price for the regular group of 35.5. So the regular group buys 8.167 movie tickets at a price of $35.50. Now we want to look at our price sensitive group, or P2, which had a price function of P2 equals 25 minus 0.25 Q2. And so we want to get to our marginal revenue, but first we need to get to our total revenue first. So our total revenue is P2 times Q2. And so it's Q2 times our price function, which is 25 minus 0.25 Q2. And by distributing that Q2, we get a total revenue 2 of 25 Q2 minus 0.25 Q2 squared. Next up, we want to find our marginal revenue from our total revenue. And marginal revenue is the derivative of the total revenue function with respect to Q. And so that derivative ends up being 25 minus 0.5 Q2. And so what we want to do is we want to profit maximize. So we will set marginal revenue 2 equal to our marginal cost. And our marginal revenue 2 is 25 minus 0.5 times Q2. And that is equal to 11. So what we would do is we would add 0.5 Q2 to both sides and subtract 11 from both sides. And we get 14 equals 0.5 Q2. And if we divide both sides by 0.5, we get a Q2 of 28. So the price-sensitive group will end up buying more than the regular group, and they will buy approximately 28 units, or 28 movie tickets. Now we want to figure out how much we're charging the price-sensitive group. So what we'll do is we'll plug in our quantity that we just found into our price2 function, which is P2 equals 25 minus 0.25 times our quantity, which is 28. And if we plug that all into a calculator, we get a P2 of 18. So the price-sensitive group is charged $18 as opposed to the regular group, which is charged $35.50. And this group could involve senior citizens or college students who are usually on either fixed income or have less disposable income. So using price discrimination, they can pull in more customers and thus raise their profit. Last but not least, we want to find our profit from price discriminating. Our profit function is a bit different here, but only because we're adding two separate profits together. So what we have is a profit function that equals P1 times Q1, so our revenue for the first group, plus P2 times Q2, so our revenue for the second group, and then minus marginal cost times quantity total. And quantity total is Q1 plus Q2. So this is our total cost altogether. And so if we plug in what we know, we have profit equals 35.5 times 8.167 plus 18 times 28 minus our marginal cost of 11, and then times 28 plus 8.167. And what we want to do is we want to plug that all into a calculator, so we get our final profit of 396.09. So this is just one way to calculate the profit. Another way to calculate the profit would be to calculate the profit for each group of demand and then add them together, and we would come out to the same profit of 396.09. That will conclude part 1 of third-degree price discrimination. Please watch part 2, where we will be discussing third-degree price discrimination in situations where price discrimination is illegal and we are forced to practice uniform pricing.